U.S. companies are using the pandemic to leverage against workers. This story is very specific, but it nails on to multiple stories that we talk about that I've seen about in the retail market, in the cleaning kind of construction, those kind of jobs. Right now, employers are alleged to be leveraging coronavirus-induced unemployment to mount an assault on collective bargaining. There are multiple cases illustrated in the article that I have for The Guardian here and other sources that have put together where companies are using their pandemic to leverage for non-union workers and more freelance contracting positions, which is like Grubhub, Seamless, Uber, DoorDash. I mean, that's what we're using a lot of right now in 2021 and 2020. So lockouts are an economic weapon employers use to take the initiative in collective bargaining, says Alex Colvin, Dean of the School of Industrial and Labor Relations at Cornell. During the pandemic, lockouts pose a greater threat to unions due to high unemployment rate and greater availability of replacement workers. So the actual article here has a man named Delroy Cannell, who was worked as a stagehand for Portland Trailblazers since 1995 at the Rose Garden Arena. When the pandemic hit the U.S. in March 2020, public events were shut down and NBA games were briefly suspended before the season moved to a bubble in Orlando, Florida, and the season recommended without fans in July 2020. But once things started up again, they hired non-union workers, even as their jobs started running. The sound and lighting equipment are required whether there are fans or in attendance or not. So it almost is like a slap into the face of IATSE. And if you guys don't know what IATSE is, it is the workers' union, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, 28. There's multiple ones. There's 52. There's 22. And they filed an unfair labor practice charge with the National Labor Relations Board and held protests outside of the Portland Trailblazers home games. So it's just a fight to maintain some of the past. I mean, and it's a good past. You got to have union employees, especially at an NBA game. I'm not even union yet. I'm still non-union. I would still, of course, bleed to go work one of those games. But at the same time, I know the power of collective bargaining, and even as an AV worker, being able to talk to your coworkers even briefly about how much we're all getting collectively paid. Anything that is just different between how people are being treated. Those are important things to talk about. And if you're taking collective bargaining off the table for people, then we have a real issue.
Yep. 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 Everybody's got to be involved in the process. The only thing is of course, depending upon the company, they feel like we're the CEOs, we're the ones that, and the most important people are the people on top and the shareholders. So that's what they're thinking with this. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they don't want to have liabilities, things that unexpected expenses from people that work for them. They're like, this is what you're getting. This is the way it's gonna be. That's the type of not boss, but owner employee relationship they want. You know what I mean? They want to have it so that everything is straight and narrow for them. And with unions and everything else, it can cause disruptions and other issues that they don't want. That's why people are going into automation and other things, because they don't want these liabilities in their stuff. So it's messed up, man.
But
you know
but almost, how do you deal with things that are, these cannot be, this is like, these are jobs that cannot be automated. And I'm honestly, the reason that it's wrong to hire the scabs is mostly because you're paying them way less. I know
yeah.
that most likely if I'm getting a non-union job or somebody who believes that they should, they're paying people like $250 less than the person that would been a union position. And also you're keeping them on unemployment, which is going to run out at some point. So it's a lack of respect for the workers.
Do you
And
think it's
I made
I was gonna say, do you think that part of it is the government's not assisting some of these companies? I mean, like, I'm not saying that it's true or isn't true, because like I know they're giving a lot of money to certain companies, but the ones that are doing things like this mostly, do you think that it's that they're not getting enough money to actually sustain what they currently had? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
go
with
ahead.
okay, so certain companies, like when you're talking about maybe retail spots, which are obviously having being hardest hit, retail spots, places that if you're a cleaner or something like that, you may not at a hotel services, things like that. I think there's an argument for that, but this is the Trailblazers. This is Portland Trailblazers. They're not
Mm,
losing a lot of money this year. They're still getting the audience. They don't have to deal like people forget that they're not necessarily a lot of the people who work for these places do not get severance from not being paid for the year. They're just on unemployment, so the government is paying for their time.
yeah,
Um, so though the company itself can't write it off, because when you're a company, you're able to write off what you're paying people
yeah,
in a
yeah.
way. You're basically it's not your profit at that point. So yes, I think the Trailblazers, particularly people that are like having to deal with IATSE, they don't want to deal with IATSE. They had previous issues with it. They don't like collective bargaining. They don't want that kind of theater union to have so much power right now.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I mean by leveraging the pandemic against them. Because basically, what they're doing is that when 2020, let's just hope 2022, we have people in the stands again, right? So you have a whole crew of people back in. They want to be able to say, well, your union didn't do well enough for you. So
Mhm.
how about we take away some of your control here? Like the next deal they make, they're probably not going to have as much power. I
Yeah.
don't know. It doesn't state when their next deal is, because that's the thing too. A lot of times they have to sign deals every couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
They
good
probably
question.
have they probably have things with other companies too where they have to make bids for it. You know, there's
Yes.
that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah, no, no, that's it. Please continue.
No, no, no. I thought you found something. I was just talking to talk.
No,
Excuse me.
what I found was about a company called Valley Fruit and Produce, which for 6 years has been getting locked out of his somebody Roberto Juarez, who has worked for Valley Fruit and Produce for 6 years before getting locked out of his job, argued the company had attempted to destroy the union in the workplace through negotiating in bad faith by pushing for reduction in benefits, wage freezes, hiring union avoidance attorneys while receiving between 2 million and 5 million in paycheck protection program loans from the federal government. So there you
Yeah.
go. You just talked that was exactly your question. Like they're
Yeah.
getting 2 to 5 million dollars directly from the government,
Hmm.
and they're not willing to pay employees. They would rather hold on to that money for free. It might be fear. They might be just afraid that this is going to be until 2023, but I don't think that's a legitimate way to run things, because then without putting money in people's hands, the economy stalls out again.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why I said like the money's got to go to the people because at the end of the day, the people, poor people can't hoard money. I mean, they could hoard money, but that'd be stupid, right? Like they need to eat and do whatever it is they got to do. You know what I mean? Pay the bills. No,
Yep.
they can only cry broke for so long. But when you know a check's coming, I don't know. That's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
it's nice to be rich, right? Like people give you more and more money. It's like celebrities; they get free things all day long. It's like when you're poor, it's like, nah, who are you? I saw some videos the other day of people driving past poor, people that homeless people, and it's like they looked at them in disgrace, like, oh, look at this horrible stuff. I'm like, it is horrible. Yeah, it is. Maybe we could figure out a way of getting them off the street instead of like looking at people like they're disgusting. You know what I'm saying? They're out there getting disgusting because nobody's caring for them. You know what I mean? It's not that they're necessarily disgusting people or whatever it is, but yeah. That's crazy, bro. Like people, very insensitive
Yeah,
people out there, man. You know, but
yeah,
that's the way they are. They look at, oh, how's it affecting me? Blah blah blah. I'm like, shut up, man. Like everybody can have it so much worse, right? Like we all can have it so much worse. But yeah, that's why I said we gotta do a community based stuff. Like everybody's got to do things together.